Hey everyone, I'm Tom, this is Casper. We're back again, this time reflecting on the 1991 film Point Break.
Gnarly, bro!
Point Break is the story of Johnny Utah, an FBI agent who goes undercover as a surfer in the hope of catching a gang of prolific bank robbers named the Ex-Presidents.
So why are we talking about Point Break? Because I'd never seen it before.
Point Break's been one of those films that I've just watched so many times. Started off from watching it at quite a young age because my dad had the DVD around. So it's just one of those things every now and again we just watch it. It's just one of those like fun action flicks that you go to like every so often.
Yeah.
And I just remember loving it. Just not really finding any like faults with it as a kid. Just loving it from start to finish. Has really good action moments throughout the film.
Yeah, it is actually, you wouldn't think of it necessarily, but it is actually a really good kids film. There's no kind of ridiculously like over the top romantic scenes. The pacing keeps going quickly. It is kind of a very family friendly action film.
Yeah, I'd say so.
There's a bit of like 90s kind of gore, you know what I mean? Some people get shot in the head and it looks a bit brutal, but...
Yeah, one of the things I noticed is throughout the film, like you said, it's quite family friendly, and then the scene where they go and do the police raid on the house, it gets real for a good 5 minutes.
Yes.
And gets quite dark.
Yeah.
And that kind of like is quite a contrast from the rest of the film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fighting was obviously something that they wanted to be a prominent and kind of visceral feature in the film, because everyone trained to do their own fighting and own stunts.
Yeah.
So like the fight scenes and the chase scenes and stuff, they are all the actors.
Right, okay.
Apart from Anthony Kiedis, who missed the training.
Yeah.
So he gets knocked out in one punch in the scene, if you notice that. He gets knocked out in one punch because he couldn't make the fight training.
Okay.
So they were like, we haven't trained you cannot safely do it. So you're just going to get knocked out in one punch.
Yeah, Anthony Kiedis from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
As a kid watching it, didn't really notice, but yeah, after a few watches when I was older, and then someone points it out to you, and then
I didn't know, even Red Hot Chili Peppers, love them, great band. I didn't notice it was him in the film until I looked at the credits afterwards.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I had to rewind and look at it and be like, oh yeah, I suppose he does look quite different to what I would think of him as looking like, say, on...
Yeah, although he's kind of like, early Chili Peppers, sort of long hair, like in sort of Give It Away Now.
I suppose it's that thing, it's like when you see someone in a setting you're not expecting them to be. You don't recognise them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something's going down, man. This ain't right. Shut the fuck out, man. It's nothing.
So this was my first proper viewing of Point Break. I've seen bits of it like on TV when I was younger, but never done a full viewing.
Okay.
And this, obviously, like you said, was a nostalgic thing for you. This was a fresh viewing for me, nostalgia for you. So I can obviously, like, from fresh eyes now, 2021, it's very, very, like, classic. It's very simple. It's, like, incredibly simple.
Mm-hmm.
Like, today... you wouldn't be able to get away with making this film like it is today.
Yeah.
They'd put in a couple more subplots. There would be some... They'd probably play up the romantic stuff a bit.
Mm-hmm.
There would be more action.
Yeah.
It's a very 90s film.
It is, yeah. It kind of, like, even from I was quite surprised watching it again, like how quick it cuts to the chase, really. No pun intended. How it cuts to it, like about like the sort of direction of it. So obviously it introduces it with Keanu Reeves' character Johnny Utah. He kind of Johnny Utah, great,
ridiculous,
amazing character.
Yeah, ridiculous name.
Perfect, yeah, name exactly at least. Yeah, it kind of it shows him like he's the FBI guy. And then quite immediately, he's sent to Los Angeles, partnered up with Gary Busey's character, and then instantly he kind of throws out his theory of why the bank robberies are happening.
Yes.
The ex-presidents are surfers.
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 So the pacing in this film is ridiculous. Like there is no downtime. It's just constantly moving the story forward, like from scene to scene.
Yeah.
The film just moves the story forward every scene. Like you said, I think I checked and it was within the first 15 minutes, say 16 minutes in, Keanu Reeves has already met Gary Busey. He's already given him his theory that these bank robbers are surfers, and they're already at the beach and he's trying to learn to surf.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like a film like that today would have a lot more establishing pre-story, or at least something. Like in the kind of intro montage, we get the point break of the titles come on screen.
Yeah.
And then it instantly goes to a montage of surfers, the surf gang we're going to meet, or not the gang, sorry, the surf group we're going to meet, the bank robbers, and Keanu Reeves shooting, doing practice, doing his FBI exam, basically.
Yeah, it sort of cuts between the two, doesn't it?
Yeah. Funny to note as well, starts off Keanu Reeves in the rain, doing his FBI practice. Final shot of the movie, Keanu Reeves in the rain. Begins and ends with rain. No other rain in the rest of the film.
Yeah.
It just begins and ends on that. It's quite a nice kind of like little visual kind of Easter egg kind of thing there.
Yeah, kind of full circle thing.
But yeah, 15 minutes and we're already in.
Yeah, because he straight after he meets Gary Busey's character Pappas, he meets him. They have a little exchange when they're at the swimming pool and at the police station.
Yeah,
and
bizarre.
Then straight after they meet, it cuts to the first bank robbery scene.
Yes.
So like they met up. You don't sort of see, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, you don't really know exactly, and then sort of straight away it cuts to that.
Yes.
And then as progresses the film.
Yeah, and a lot of the cuts and just the cinematography in general, a lot of the shots are very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Like we'll cut to someone's hands doing something, or we cut to them at the crowded party, him and his kind of girlfriend, Johnny and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or we cut to, just, they're all tight angles. There's no establishing shots.
No.
It's literally just cut into a scene, you're looking at someone's hands, or you're looking at someone's face, or you're looking at someone doing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is cool for the pacing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a bit of a weird choice. It's just weird.
Yeah, I quite liked it because it sort of, especially in a lot of the action scenes. So a lot like the bank robbery scenes and the chase through all the houses and the gardens.
Yeah, it definitely works with the action side of it. Yeah, they had some special rig apparently so that the cameraman could have the Steadicam off in front of him and he could run along behind the people. So it's not on rails or something like you would necessarily you kind of expect people to do it today. It was a guy running either behind or in front of them, filming them doing that kind of thing, which is why, like you said, it feels so visceral.
Yeah.
Kind of
feels very chaotic.
Yeah, chaotic. Definitely.
Yeah, I liked a lot of the the surfing shots as well. A lot of the cast had to learn how to surf. There was only, I think, 2 of the guys who were in the 4, bank robbing.
Yeah, just the main crew.
Yeah, 2 of them were already really established surfers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Oh, that's really cool.
So they mentioned quite a lot of the the sort of really hard, tricky surfing shots. They were focusing on them, and then for the close-ups, it would go on to Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves. So they could, they could basically, they were able to shoot them on easier waves. There's a good scene when it's at night time. They're all around the bonfire by the beach.
Yes.
And they're talking about the biggest, breaks, biggest surf places in the world, and it's quite interesting actually. So one of the guys, I think it's Jesse Christopher, that's the actor of one of them.
Yeah.
He says that Waimea in Hawaii is the best beach, it's the best surf in the world. Or I think Keanu Reeves says it. Yeah. And then Patrick Swayze says Bells Beach, Australia. And then so Bajeti Christopher then goes, no way, it's not bigger than YMA. And then Patrick's like, it will be next year.
Yes.
And then actually they filmed some of the big surf shots right at the end at Bells, Australia, at YMA. So he said like he's basically said like, nah, it's not bigger than Bells, Australia, and they're actually filming it at YMA in Hawaii.
That's cool.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, like it's funny little.
Patrick Swayze says he got a few broken ribs, I think, during the filming of it.
Yeah.
So like he had to learn to surf. He got like one of the best surfers in the world to teach him. But it's not something that you can just sort of teach someone overnight in a few weeks. It takes years of experience.
Yeah.
But obviously he was like he was so determined to learn. And yeah, he said he got beaten up a few times, like bailing in the water.
By Anthony Kiedis.
Exactly, yeah. By Anthony Kiedis.
No, yeah, got beaten up by the water, yeah.
Yeah. And it was interesting to know that he wasn't allowed to, he battled with the production company over doing the skydiving. They were really like,
yes.
They were all happy for him to go and get beaten up by the waves. Which he said, like, he almost died, he felt like he was going to die, like, multiple times. Whereas skydiving is, although it sort of inherently looks pretty dangerous, or, like, the nature of it's dangerous, like, it's in such a more controlled environment than surfing.
Well, yeah, but I can imagine as production and legal side of it, because, you have to insure all your actors when you're filming things.
Yeah.
I bet getting the insurance to let your A-list actor really. He's because he was the big name. He's the big name in the film at the time because he'd just come off Ghost, doing Ghost, which is probably it's one of his biggest things. Or it's one of the things that made him super famous.
So it's quite early on in Keanu's career as well.
Really Keanu hadn't done fuck all by now. No. He had done Bill and Ted 1, so he had kind of broken I don't know, it's not really mainstream, but
broken onto the scene.
Broken onto the scene. But yeah, he wasn't like he is now. So yeah, to get the insurance money, to pay the insurance money to let him skydive. Yeah. To let Patrick Swayze skydive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine. So Patrick Swayze really got into the skydiving. Mm-hmm. And was doing a few jumps to get into the mindset and to feel what it would be like, and so he could act it. Yeah. And they obviously didn't want him to do it anymore. So he was like, okay, well, if I'm going to stop skydiving, you have to let me do a real one in the film. Mm-hmm. So one of the jumps in the film where he jumps out and he's like, see y'all motherfuckers or whatever.
Oh yeah, the end of the film.
Is actually him jumping for real.
Adios, amigo!
A lot of the close-up shots are obviously not from skydiving. They set up a cool rig where they're all kind of like attached, and they were able to do close-ups of the actors, and where they could actually like hear them do dialogue, which is like completely unrealistic. Yes. You wouldn't hear shit 4,000 or however many meters up in the air. Definitely. But yeah, and also the cameramen themselves were on the rig, and they were able to sort of move as well, go up and down, so it looked like the cameramen were actually like
kind of falling past.
Exactly, falling.
Okay.
And that made it
fluid shots. Cool. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly, and it's all sort of shot upwards, so there's no actual like ground shots that would spoil the shot, in view of the camera.
Very cool. Yeah, so Keanu Reeves playing Johnny Utah. He's always called Johnny in films, I swear. Johnny Mnemonic, Johnny Utah. Yeah. Then I had another one as well, I swear it's called Johnny and something else. So first time viewing, I wasn't impressed by Keanu Reeves. I don't know. It really seemed to kind of stretch him as an actor. He didn't come across as likable to me. Kind of monotone, I suppose, because the director, Catherine Bigelow, demanded that Keanu Reeves play Johnny Utah. She was like, I'm going to make him into an action star.
Right.
Because he had just come off of Bill and Ted, the original, and he was going to be filming Bill and Ted 2 soon. So it's like at this point he's not an action star at all. Pre-Matrix, pre-John Wick, they're not even conceived yet.
Yeah, I can't even remember like what he would have been around that time. Probably not a lot.
No.
It was quite early on in his career, wasn't it?
Yeah, and more as a kind of comedic actor, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or, well, Bill and Ted's the big one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so if you like The Matrix and John Wick, you owe something to Catherine Bigelow, being like, he's gonna be an action star.
Yeah.
Like, I can feel it. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I kind of I thought in parts it kind of worked. But there were scenes when he was like trying to almost like when he was becoming more of when he was like integrating further into Patrick Swayze's crew. And then he kind of the scenes where he went back to like the police station, like Dr. Cox from Scrubs, gives him a massive earful, him and Gary Busey, and then he's like, "Have you got anything to say to that?" He's like, "Cut my first tube today."
Yeah, okay.
They're like both into that.
Yeah,
where it's like that's
because that's him being Bill and Ted.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why it
That
works. Like the only lines that I really felt him actually have any kind of personality was the comedic relief line. So that one, and again when Dr. Cox is like, "Oh, why have they sent you? They must have thought we must have an asshole shortage." And then Keanu's like, "Well, not so far, because Dr. Cox is just being an asshole." Like that was the only times where you just see the spark in his eyes, and it's like,
yeah, I guess the his like character's like pretty arrogant, but he doesn't sort of, I guess it doesn't like wink enough at the camera. Patrick Swayze's brilliant in it, I thought.
Yeah,
He's
Patrick
great.
Swayze, really good. No one really shone apart from Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
He's the only one that, like, when he came on screen, I my eyes lit up again, and I'm like, yeah. He's back. Like, he actually emoted. He actually felt like the character. He was believable. Everyone else, I thought, like Gary Busey, I didn't really rate him in this.
No, I quite liked Gary Busey in this.
Yeah,
I mean, he was so like ridiculous, and he's like that in quite a lot of films. So I guess they knew what they were getting with casting him, and you don't really expect him. Spoiler alert! I I completely forgot that he died at the end. That he got shot.
Yes,
and that was almost like more shocking to me than Laurie Petty's character. Like being sort of kidnapped at the end. Like I thought, like just because Gary Busey is such like a sort of silly kind of character through it, him just getting shot at the end was a bit like startling.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, it didn't hit me as hard as maybe as it hit you, but it was good. It was cool. It was good choice, I think, that he died rather than everyone just living happily ever after.
Yeah,
that was cool. That worked.
Damn!
So yeah, funny fact about the final scene as well. So the final scene, we have Patrick Swayze on the beach who's gone to surf the 50-year storm wave, so he's going to surf the huge wave. Keanu Reeves obviously knows he's going to be there, so meets him there. This actual scene was filmed 6 months after they stopped filming.
Oh, okay.
So Patrick Swayze has short hair now, rather than his surfer hair.
Yeah.
Because he was filming another film and getting ready to film another film.
Yeah.
But it just looks like he's got short hair because he's been on the run and wanted to change his appearance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Keanu Reeves has long hair because he's just about to film, or just started filming, Bill and Ted 2.
Right.
So he looks like the surfer now.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's
Sort of switched
disenfranchised with the FBI.
Yeah.
So the hair that they were obliged to have for other contracts makes the final scene of the film like actually work.
That works really well.
Yeah, it's really funny
perfect.
that. So yeah, and obviously 6 months later, so they look a bit different and they're a bit obviously they're made up to look a bit tired and rugged anyway, and it's in the rain. But yeah, that was really funny that they're contractually obliged to have this haircut and it fits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, they save Keanu's character arc till the final moments.
It's kind of
it's obviously not that kind of film. I'm just reading into it too much, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, just maybe because it's a 90s film, it just feels so far removed from modern films.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Like going back from watching sort of more serious modern action films, and then going back to those, like before you even watch them, you know like what you're going to get for like 80s films. And I think in the 90s it's that sort of crossover where it kind of gets a bit more serious, but still like got that sort of like cheesy sort of tone from it from like the 80s. And this is only 91, so it's still sort of like towards the end of that
Era.
era of action films. So I guess it seems like it's got quite a good, reasonable production value.
Yes.
So I guess it can kind of like throw you off a bit maybe. Get into it.
Yeah, I didn't think about the production value, especially. There's no expensive sets. They obviously had to hire a few helicopters to jump out of.
Yeah, a lot of it's like outdoors.
It's just on the beach.
It's in the beach. It's around sort of neighbourhoods.
Famous beach though. It's a beach they filmed quite a lot of films on apparently.
Okay.
And like, you know.
And yeah, I think the first skydiving scene when it's over a massive like lake and islands, that's in Arizona. So yeah.
Okay.
Way away from California.
Yeah.
But yeah, beautiful location for that.
Yes.
And the other ones, I think is that like quite a famous sort of place to get like skydiving centre.
Yeah, Catherine Bigelow, the director, she went up with them all. She went up with them in the plane every time when they were doing stuff.
Okay.
She wanted to be, she wanted to direct from the location every time.
Yeah.
So she'd be up in the plane, telling them, giving them direction, obviously, and which was nice. And she also did the same for the surfing scenes. She'd be out sitting on a board, framing things, giving them direction still, and getting wiped out apparently. Like she'd be there and she was just like, I got wiped out by a load of waves because I'm like trying to be like, oh yeah, you should kind of come in like this and then start talking to him and then more of this, and then she wouldn't be concentrating. She'd just get wiped out by a wave and just so it's pretty funny. Imagine her in a wetsuit like. Yeah,
it's like Quentin Tarantino style when he wants to be behind the camera in like nearly every shot as well.
Yeah.
He wants to be that right there, like seeing the shots play out.
After I finished it, I was amazed that it was 2 hours because
it's quite a long run time.
Yeah, for what kind of happens, because the pacing kind of just keeps it going along. I thought it was shorter for one, but two, like really not very much happens. And they managed to make it 2 hours, and I didn't feel like they were stretching time or anything. I didn't feel like, oh, it's a long ass film to watch.
They probably could have ended it earlier after like the final bank robbery scene. Like that felt like almost like a climax, and they could have maybe gone on to a bit with finding Tyler, because she was obviously kidnapped, so they had to tie that up. But yeah, then it went on, and then he went to the airport, and there was that shootout. And then another skydiving bit, so the ending felt quite long in that respect.
Okay, yeah, maybe. But then if you'd cut out all of that, you'd have cut out the one, like, kind of twist, cool moment in the film, as far as I'm concerned, which was when, spoilers, Keanu jumps out of the plane without a parachute.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's obviously, like, the most badass bit in the film. He's, like...
That's great.
Picks up the gun. Patrick Swayze's already jumped out of the plane, and he's like... I'm doing it for love, basically. Like, again, doesn't act it very well. But he, gets the gun and jumps out with the gun, no parachute. Really cool. Best bit in the film. The coolest twist.
That's great.
And pretty much the only twist, really. Because you can pretty much guess that the one surf group he's come into contact with in the film are going to be the surfing robbers.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
Because it's the kind of film it is. Like I said, nothing's fleshed out. It's not like you see 8 different groups of people and it could be any of them.
Yeah.
It's like,
I guess they try to like conceal it and like by not showing their faces at the start of the robbery, but it's pretty obvious when it gets into it.
also that did, I don't know, not annoy me, but it's just one of those things again for afterwards. I was just thinking about it, like he meets the one person on the beach who is affiliated with the robbers and gets in with her. Yeah. And she just happens to be one of the kind of groupie girls that the the villains have,
Yeah.
that the main villain has. It's like, how does Johnny Utah find these guys?
So that's 90s action films for you.
Yes, and it doesn't need to be anymore. I just like watching more modern films. I suppose I'm just used to more exposition, more details that make more details that make things realistic, I suppose, or just give them purpose and direction rather than just.
I think this is why I'm glad I saw it as a kid. I watched it so many times because it's even though I can like point the hell out of all the flaws in the film.
Point out the breaks.
Point out the breaks. Exactly. I guess it doesn't doesn't bother me in the slightest. Doesn't detract it. Yeah. So it's because I know the story so well, and that's why I really like it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I wanted to see what happened, and it wasn't so basic and predictable that I was like, oh, this scene's going to be next and this is going to happen next. Like it was an enjoyable ride.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Would you recommend it to your nan?
Would I recommend her nan? No, I suppose not. I don't know who I would recommend this to really. I suppose I'd recommend it to people who I know enjoy 90s action films because it's got an aesthetic and it's fun, and so I would recommend it to certain people, again probably with a caveat of this is just exactly what it looks like on the surface. Like there's no Equisapiens in here. No. This is exactly what it like. There's no twists.
No, there's no
there's no twists.
Mermaid sapiens or
mermaid sapiens.
Weird sea creatures that come out. I'd probably recommend it to dads 50, 60. Because this is like.
But they've already seen it.
They've already seen it. If they haven't, watch it.
So, that was our review and discussion of Point Break. Thank you very much for tuning in and hanging 10 with us. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. It all helps.
All of that jazz.
And we will see you on the next one.
Bye for now.